Adobe adds AI noise reduction to Lightroom. Let's give it a test. So earlier this week, I was working on a batch of photos in Lightroom from a recent photo excursion, and I'm browsing through my feed later that day, and I see the announcement that Adobe has added AI Denoise to its noise reduction toolset in Lightroom. And so it just so happened that the photos that I was working on were kind of noisy. So it was a perfect opportunity to take this out for a spin on one of those pictures, plus some of my noisiest pictures from my photo library. So let's fire up Lightroom and take a look. And this is one of the photos that I was talking about from my recent photo excursion. It was an overcast day. There was a lot of fast-moving water, so I had to push the ISO up to 1600 to make sure that I froze all this action going on in the foreground. And so after a little bit of processing, you can see that it introduced or brought out a lot of this kind of color noise, especially right here in the spray of the waterfall. And now I should also mention that this is the Nikon NEF RAW file. The AI Denoise tool apparently only really works for RAW files at this time. It's going to be opened up to other file formats in the future, but right now it's just for RAW files. So this is my original Nikon RAW file. If I go into Edit, and here under Detail is where you'll see the denoise button. They did leave the manual noise reduction here as a little sub menu, but all you really have to do is click on denoise and it'll bring up the enhance menu, and it will give you a little bit of a preview. It's kind of bringing up a section of my photo. It's bringing up some of the branches higher up in the photo that's also got a lot of color noise going on. And for the purpose of this video, I'm doing pretty much everything at like 40 as the amount on this slider for denoise. You can go more or you can go less for your picture as your needs dictate. I usually don't want to really push it past 50 or 60 at most, because I don't want to make my photos look too waxy. I want to leave a little bit of natural, like graininess or organic quality to the photos without making them pasty or smooth or waxy. So I'm going to leave all these photos I'm going to show you here on 40. So this one will take 12 minutes. Some photos have taken like 16 or 18 minutes. Some take less than that. Depends on your computer's processing power, your photo resolution, how much it has to do, and so forth. But I've already processed this one, and kind of wide out, you're not really seeing too much going on, but when you zoom in on details, and here I'm going to put these side by side, I think you're really going to start to see some of what the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, is really doing for reducing the noise and restoring some of the detail and enhancing the detail of your photos. So here I have the original Nikon RAW on the right side, and I have the enhanced DNG. When you run this through, when you run a photo through the AI Denoise, it creates a whole separate DNG file that's separate from your original, and it carries over any sort of edits that you've already done. So on this file, what really kind of introduced the color noise was adding some processing to my photo. It's a little bit grainy here, but adding the processing really brought out the color noise. So now on the denoised photo, I'm going to zoom in, and you can really see a lot of the stray kind of random color noise is gone. And it did seem to recover quite a bit of this fine detail of, this rocky ledge. And even in the spray here, it looks a little bit more well-defined and just kind of less noisy randomness to it. It looks a little bit more natural. I'm going to zoom out here. I'm going to show you two other areas of this photo. Here along the bank of the waterfall, there's a lot of branches and roots and kind of all sorts of straggly things going on. And in the original photo, you see just a lot of, besides the natural green and brown of, the moss and the soil and so forth, there's just a lot of random, just kind of noisy color noise just going on. And here, this just looks a little sharper, a little bit more well-defined, a little more refined. Here, even like these fine little twigs and branches and stuff just kind of look a little, more refined and individual, and just gives it a nice cleanness to it. It doesn't kind of look all noisy and grainy and unnatural. It gives it a nice refined quality to it. I'm going to go out to this little swirl of water happening in the foreground, and here you see again it's just a little bit smoother but not waxy or kind of too glossy or anything like that. It's just it filtered out a lot of this kind of grain, this color grain, and just made it smoother, more refined, more natural. So yeah, this has been working great so far for making these photos more usable. If I printed these out side by side at a large size, I think you would really be able to tell the difference. So this was just at ISO 1600. I decided to go back to some of my older photos that I took more in darkness, more handheld, at a higher ISO to see what the AI Denoise would do for that. So I have, let's see if I can get both of these up here. This is the aerial lift bridge in Duluth, Minnesota. This is still ISO 1600, but this was kind of a unique situation. If I click on the original here, I was shooting in a thunderstorm. I was handheld because I kind of wanted to get the hell out of there because there was a lightning storm going on. So I didn't have a tripod or anything going on, just handheld. I had it at 1600. It was still, 1/20th of a second, so it wasn't, the best for catching fast motion of, the storm going on. But, it just gave me, I don't remember if I had it on automatic. I think I might have had it on one of the priority modes. And, we had this, let's see which one. Okay, so this on the left side is the original unprocessed, or the undenoised edition. So if you look at the original, what kicked out of the camera, it almost kind of looks like, semi-bright daylight. But this was kind of like at sunset-ish or a little bit later time frame. And I just happened to notice there was just this little tiniest streak of lightning here that I managed to catch in there. So after kind of processing it down to enhance the visibility of the lightning, it enhanced a lot of the grain of the picture, introduced a lot of this funky kind of purples and blues and pinks, color noise to the picture. That the bridge is somewhat sharp, and it would have been a usable picture if it wasn't for, all this grain introduced in the picture as I'm processing it. But now, actually, I'm going to leave it up here to about there so you see the lightning and stuff in there. So now this on the right is the AI Denoised version. This is again on 40 on that slider, and it just looks so much more natural. Stripped out all this chunky, weird looking noise, and it just makes it more refined. It has a little bit, just the slightest amount of natural organic grain to it, but it just refined the whole thing. If I go to this side, which is a little bit deeper of a color, you see pretty much the same story here. This is just, with this intense processing and coloring to bring out the lightning of this, dark shot with the lightning going on. This fully makes this a usable picture for me now. If I go to the little lighthouse here, you can just see it, this is, very noisy, very chunky. I do have to put the chromatic aberration filters on, but, just look here, this lighthouse is fully recovered and detailed, and it has, definition, and it has a little bit of shadow, whereas this is all just way, way too noisy. So this, I think, fully makes this photo recoverable and usable with this. And I've used the traditional noise reduction methods in Lightroom for a long time, trying to make this usable, and now this works for me. This, I feel like I can print at a somewhat, and I've printed this in like a black and white, like 24 by 36, and framed it, but it always kind of looked a little funky. I'm definitely going to give it a try, and in color too, because I think this has kind of a cool color tone to it. Let's pick up this picture, which is from the tall ships down at the Canal Park area of Duluth, Minnesota. This one is an ISO 5600, 1/60th of a second shutter. Let's see, we have the Nikon RAW file on the left, the denoise picture on the right. So if we zoom in just into the sky, we don't have, and this one I believe is pretty much, this one is unprocessed at all. So this is just the photo itself. And it just, very much, smooths out, but doesn't totally obliterate the organic kind of graininess to this picture. I mean, I don't think you really want a photo taken at night that's like too perfect and glossy. I mean, I think we've just seen through, decades of photography that it just looks unnatural if it doesn't have a little bit of grain to it. But I'm going to zoom out here and let's find some detail in, like, along this deck and these ropes. Now this was again handheld. Not the sharpest picture at all, but I mean, just look at what it does to all these ropes here. I mean, it cleans them up, it gives them texture, gives them detail, sharpness that I don't think you really would notice in this picture before. Let's go down here. There's a lot going on. Just look at the definition and the shadow details here in the post. It really heightens all these ropes and stuff. So if you printed this, it doesn't look just like a lot of, stray scattered grain. It looks like fully realized defined ropes here, and like in all these braided ropes here too. I mean, it really tightens them up, gives them, depth and definition and color, a little bit, more color. I didn't really do anything processing or color wise between these two pictures, but it just really brings out a lot of detail in pictures like this. So for the last picture, again, this is a tall ship one. This one is definitely darker. And this one is 6400 ISO. A little bit of processing to it. This is the Nikon raw file on the left, and the enhanced ISO, the enhanced noise reduction on the right side. And again, put just this sky field side by side, and the noise is definitely dimmed in this one. I mean, you have a lot more chunky white beige type noise in this one, whereas it's more subdued in this side. If we start pulling in some of the detail from the ship's ropes and masts and stuff, the flag, it just pulls everything out, sharpens it up, brings it more forward. It's not one of my best shots. I might still do a little bit more processing to make something more out of this, but the denoise definitely, makes a usable shot out of what was normally something that I would have just thrown away. But, I don't really throw anything away. I have like 20,000 some images from, the last 15 years here in my Lightroom catalog. So this is something that, this might be a shot that might not be, a large print type thing, but it could be something that I do something with, just because now I have a little bit something more to do with it. Let's take a quick look at these bricks here, because this, I think, is another area where we'd be able to tell the difference. I mean, yeah, just look at that. I mean, you have a tiny bit of the linear pattern of the bricks, but here it's just so much more exposed. And, the grout patterns of the brick, I mean, this is all just kind of random, indecipherable noise here, where this at least, it makes the lines stand out more. It brings out some of whatever this other detail on the brick is. It just gives it, a quality that I think you can definitely make more out of this photo than you would have been able to before. So I guess color me impressed. I'm really digging it so far. I'm really excited to go further back in my catalog and see what else I can make out of this that I can bring from my past catalog that I never would have touched again, that maybe now I can do something with. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think of it. Leave a comment in the comments below. Let me know how you're using it, how you're finding it to be. Post a link to any of your photography. I'd love to see it. And be sure and tune in for my next videos, and we'll see you on the next one.